Good morning. Welcome to the third annual NETABSE Aspiring Administrator Symposium. My name is Lee Williams, and I have the privilege of serving as the president-elect for our association right now. And if you've never been on one of these symposiums, they are just a wonderful opportunity to network, a wonderful opportunity to get information, a wonderful opportunity to just be connected with some good folks in our local community, in our area. And so we are definitely in a virtual environment today. And so I just wanted to go over a couple of housekeeping rules. Make sure you keep your mic muted. There will be opportunities, I'm sure, throughout this presentation for you to come off of mute if the presenter may have some dialogue or some questions that they want to kind of have an interactive conversation with. We encourage you to use the chat and the comment box, which everybody has already been doing that, just with a simple good morning, hello, all of that. Those are always nice things to do to get some interaction going on. And lastly, we are recording this event. I don't know if you know, but last year we take the recordings of the events and then we immediately put them on our YouTube page. So please be mindful of the fact that we are recording. And so, yeah, just, make sure you know that. I wanted to kind of get us started a little bit today with these three different quotes. I have a book that I used all through college. It's famous African-American quotes. And so I put together three just for us to kind of consider as we dive right in and jump into this Inspiring Administrator Symposium. Dr. Martin Luther King, he talked about a lot, but one of the things that he said was, one of our tasks is to organize our strength into compelling power. Each of us have strengths, and we're combining all of those together to make one powerful force in education. So keep that in mind as you're getting information. Then Frederick Douglass says, if there is no struggle, there is no progress. These last 18, 19 months have been a struggle for everybody in some shape or form. And so while we're coming out of the struggle, we've made some type of progress. I was talking to Miss Joanne last night, and when we were talking, I was just talking about the fact that our virtual platform, our virtual environment has come so far. And so even though we may meet back in person next year, these avenues right here on Zoom are always going to be an opportunity for us to connect with people who may not be able to come for whatever reason. And so we've made progress even through our struggle. And then the last person people don't always know about, Georgia Douglas Johnson. She was very famous in the Harlem Renaissance. And so the Harlem Renaissance, of course, in the 1920s took place. And one of the things that she was poetically known for saying was, your world is as big as you make it. And so we have a big opportunity to make our world even bigger. We have a big opportunity to get connected. We have a big opportunity to make impact. Each of us are here for today for a moment. And so let's make this opportunity as big as possible. Let's make our world bigger by inspiring others to get into education, by inspiring others to lead, by inspiring others to use their strength as a form of power. Despite our struggle, we're still making progress. And so I'm excited for today. Each of the speakers that are going to talk to you, each come from different parts of life. Come from different backgrounds. They come from different geographic locations. I often tell people diversity is not always about skin color. It's about what you bring to the table, what demographic, what background, what opportunity, where you come from. All of those kind of things bring diversity and inclusion together. And so I'm excited for today. Let me go over the overview for you just so you can have a high level of what we're actually going to talk about. So I've done the welcome and overview right now. Dr. Morris will pray for us. After that, I'll get to introduce Dr. Emily Cottrell, who is the president of Texas A&M University, who's just a phenomenal speaker, but also a phenomenal leader who you'll get to hear from. And then Ms. Teresa Robinson, Sherry Pennex is also here, who I have not met yet, but she's new at TISD, and I know she'll be just phenomenal. And then Dr. Gooden, who is a part of our Texas Alliance of Black School Educators. So there's NETABSE, and then we have a higher kind of like realm that kind of oversees us. And so she is the higher ed commission chair for the Texas Alliance of Black School Educators. She has just a wealth of information, worked at Texas Southern for years. And then I think she worked at a couple of other ISDs as well. So she'll come in and be our keynote address. And then our president will close things out at the end. So you'll be seeing me a lot, but I will want to tell you this. Today is SAT day. And so I'm in between doing SAT with 7 students from all over the Bowie and Cass County community who are preparing for their futures next year, I guess, after they graduate from high school. So with that, here's Dr. Morris, who will pray, and then I'll come back with the formal introduction of Dr. Cottrell.
Thank you, Lee. Good morning, everybody. Let us bow our heads. O Lord, our Heavenly Father, by whose Spirit we're taught knowledge. You give us wisdom to all of us. You grant us your blessings. We beseech you to all who serve you, whether as teachers, learners, paraprofessionals, staff, or administrators. Help us work and do the work which you have given us to do. Enable us to labor diligently and faithfully, remembering that without you, we can do nothing, and that in your fear is the beginning of wisdom. May we set your holy of holies before us and do that which is well-pleasing in your sight, so that our work here may count for good to others, both now and in the days to come. We thank you for this 3rd annual Aspiring Administrator Symposium. We thank you for this wonderful committee that has worked diligently to put this together. Now, Lord, keep us in your hands. In Jesus' name, amen.
Thank you, Dr. Morris. We appreciate all that you do, and we appreciate your prayer this morning as well. Just a reminder, our theme for this year is the next normal, how leaders reset for growth beyond coronavirus. So that is our theme. And here to officially get us started is Dr. Cottrell. Dr. Cottrell was appointed president of Texas A&M University, Texarkana in January of 2013. Prior to her appointment, she served as provost and vice president for academic affairs at California State University, St. Marcos for more than 6 years. And she was also a dean and professor at Arizona State University. Dr. Cottrell is a native Texian, born in San Antonio and raised in Houston. She attended the University of Texas at Austin, where she earned her BA, MA, and her PhD in American Studies, and began her academic career as a faculty member in academic studies and art history. Wow, Dr. Cottrell. She has several books that were published as well. By the Texas A&M Press and LNC Temple Classics in Texas Women History Collection in 2016. And her book's title is The Art of Women, The Life and Work of Elizabeth Ney, Lincoln, the University. Okay, yeah, it's a press, sorry. And Dr. Cottrell has a husband who is also a historian, and he is a professor emeritus at Arizona State University. And they have 2 children and 3 grandchildren. Without any further ado, here's Dr. Cottrell. Dr. Cottrell, are you on mute? Yeah, you're on mute.
Now I am. Okay. I am unmuted. So, okay. Am I there now?
Yes.
Okay. Well, it certainly is good to see everybody, if only virtually, but congratulations on being so engaged and involved that you're spending your Saturday morning. I hope learning some wonderful things that really help you as you progress in your careers that are so important to the future of this community, this country, and the world. So I congratulate you on being here. And I want to say I am so honored myself to be here. I greatly appreciate the invitation that I received. to be here, and hope that this isn't the last time I see you, that I continue to see you. And if there's ever anything I can do for you, that you will let me know. Now, Mr. Favors, who I'm very fortunate to work with, told me he picked a topic for me because he figured that I might have some things to say about this, and that is leading through challenging times. And I kind of jokingly told him, well, you could just call that leading, because it's always challenging times. There's never a time when there isn't some sort of challenge. And why is that? It's because we're always changing. And frankly, if you're a leader, the definition to me in many ways of leading is helping people move through change. So we've always got a challenge. I'd like to share my screen in just a second. I don't have a PowerPoint. I'm really going to talk more directly to you than with a PowerPoint. As Mr. Williams said, my background is in American Studies and art history. Never in my wildest dreams did I think I would one day be a university president. You know, life gives you opportunities, and it's up to you to seize them. And I'm very glad that I did. But because my background, I do find my background helpful in what I do, but I also look to others and to things that I can pick up and read to help me with many of the things that I face on a day-to-day basis. So I want to share with you today the titles of a couple of books and a couple of ideas from these books that I found very helpful in my administrative career and my leadership career. And I think you would find them helpful as well. And then I want to talk about two specific examples from A&M Texarkana that I think illustrate these ideas. So let me share my screen here. Do you have it?
Yes.
Okay, good. Well, these, first of all, at the top are a couple of books. You'll see that they are not new. They're not hot off the press, but I think you'd find them very interesting and helpful. The first one, I just love the title, and it tells you what it's about: leadership without easy answers. Like leadership through challenging time, I think you'll all find, those of you who are aspiring administrators, that leadership is about dealing with issues that have no easy answers. And this book is useful in helping you understand how to move forward when there aren't easy answers. The author, Ronald Heifetz, is currently a professor at the JFK School at Harvard, a professor of leadership. He's also a doctor, a psychiatrist, and he's also a musician, both of which he finds very helpful in his work on leadership. The second book has kind of a frightening title in some ways: Leadership on the Line, Staying Alive Through the Dangers of Leading, and also misspelling, because I seem to have put a double N in leading there at the end. Published in 2002, it's been republished several times since then. Ronald Heifetz is again one of the authors, and Marty Linsky, who's his colleague at the JFK School. Linsky's background is in politics and in media, and they've just done amazing work together. They consult all over the world and teach together. This subtitle, Staying Alive Through the Dangers of Leading, on one level is metaphorical. It's about, really not suffering too much as you lead, but it also is quite literal. One of the examples that they use is Itzhak Rabin, who led without easy answers through a very challenging times and ultimately was assassinated for what he did. So you need to think about how you protect yourself as you are leading people through change. They have two key thoughts that are very helpful as you move into careers in leadership. One is adaptive work versus technical work. Basically, adaptive work is the work of leading, of when there are no easy answers, when you really need to move people out of their comfort zone, when you really need to work with people to change, to adapt to the current environment. You are doing adaptive work. And I think for all of us, as we move through COVID and into the world post-COVID, what we need to be thinking about is adaptive work. And that's something that's not the same as technical work. Those are kind of the easy answers, and that's management, where you've got a task you know you can do, it will help whatever institution you're working for, but it's really not leading change. It is making technical adjustments, and they're important. I don't want to downplay them, but making technical adjustments that really don't make a cultural change in the institution where you're working. And leadership is about cultural change. Now, this other one here at the bottom, moving from the dance floor to the balcony. I think Dr. Morris, maybe Mrs. Rice, maybe Ms. Ingram are old enough to remember when there used to be dance floors, maybe in hotels or other places, and up around above would be a balcony. And so you'd see all the dancers down on the dance floor, but you could go upstairs and look at them from up above. It's a key idea that Heifetz introduces in Leadership Without Easy Answers. And that is that, you know, sometimes you're in the midst of things and you're really working hard, but you need to take some time out, move up and take a distanced view of what's going on. Look at yourself, look at others, see what the patterns are, see the bigger picture, and it can really help you lead. So wanted to give those references to you because through a, almost 25-year career in academic administration, I have found these ideas very helpful. So I read Leadership Without Easy Answers when it first came out in 1996 and have probably read it again every 3 or 4 years since then. So let me stop that share. Okay, any questions, comments from here? I guess I should look at the chat. Don't see anything, so I'll move on. I want to talk about two really important efforts at A&M Texarkana that I believe fit into this notion about leadership without easy answers, adaptive work versus technical work, and the need to move back from the dance floor and look at the bigger picture from the balcony. One has to do with the larger work that we're doing at A&M Texarkana to serve our region. A&M Texarkana is a regional comprehensive university that is there to serve the region and to meet the needs of the region that we're in, much like all of the public schools, K through 12, serve the region. Regional comprehensive universities are there to meet the needs of the people, the communities that surround us. Doesn't mean all of our students come from right around us. We have students from all over, but we feel like we're serving the region when we bring students in from outside. So we really need to serve the region. We also, as all public institutions, get most of our funding or much of our funding from the state legislature. And every 2 years, I make a pilgrimage to Austin to make the case for additional funding for our university. You know, for a long time, what we did was we'd say, this is what we need because we've grown so much. And we'll get together all our numbers and our charts, and we'll talk about maybe programs, new programs we can initiate and how much they cost. And we've done that year after year, and often we're successful, sometimes we're not. 2 legislative sessions ago, after having gone back and looked at Leadership Without Easy Answers, thinking about what's in Leadership on the Line, I realized that what we were doing was actually just looking at the small picture. We were in the middle of the dance, and I took a step backward and up to look around, and did this with the people, the wonderful people I work with, because leadership isn't solitary. You work with partners, and realized that what we should be talking about is more broadly the needs of the region that we serve. I also realized in doing that many people, including those who represent East Texas, don't really understand what East Texas is about. So rather than going to the legislature and asking for money for specific programs, we worked to help the legislature understand the bigger picture, the real needs of what we serve. And we initiated something that we, in more pragmatic ways, I guess, packaged and marketed as the Better East Texas initiative. So much of what we're doing at A&M Texarkana is geared toward taking a region, which is a wonderful place, beautiful place with lots of great people, but saying we can work to make it even better than it is right now. So for example, what I went to the legislature to remind people about, what I talk about on the university campus, is that East Texas, as wonderful as it is the poorest, the most unhealthy, and the least educated region in the state of Texas. And I can cite all of the numbers to support that. People were surprised. They tend to think of South Texas as being the poorest, the least healthy, and the least educated. That is not the case. It really is East Texas, and we want that to be known. And it's not something for us to be ashamed of. It is something for us to work toward changing. Now, change is not easy. Change is adaptive work. We can put together programs. That's technical work, and that's important to do. That's managerial and administrative work, but real leadership requires working with people to change. So I'll give you an example of what I'm talking about here. Better East Texas project for us, for the legislature. Part of it was educating people about the bigger picture. Part of it is dealing with getting the degree programs that are needed in East Texas to help it economically, to help it in terms of health, and also to help it educationally. We can do that. We make them available. Tony and his colleagues are out there working all the time, helping students understand why they should go to college. And we agree that those very specific programs are extremely important. But what is more important in the long term is the change that it will make, not just in individual lives, but in those individual lives as those people go back into the community and help others. All of us in education have a very important mission, and it is a mission, and I believe a calling and vocation, and that is to help people reach their fullest potential and to help communities reach their fullest potential. But we can only do it if we recognize that it is hard, adaptive work. It's about changing cultures, and it's about seeing the big picture. I'll give you just one quick example, and I think probably Mr. Favors remembers this. As we go and recruit students from some of the smaller towns of East Texas, we get our students together, we go and we present to them, we talk about what a great place Texarkana is, how wonderful it is to go to A&M Texarkana. We went to one small community that maybe many of you have never heard of in Northeast Texas, Huntington. which is actually the epitome of East Texas in many ways. Our students did a wonderful job, and we could tell that their students, their seniors, were really excited about what they had to say. I was back in the back watching this going on, and I turned and I talked to the counselor and said, you know, we really enjoy being here. Your students are great. And she said, you have no idea how important it is to us that you are here. That's also really important, that you're present, that you're here. She said, and I'll tell you why. She said, you see that student over there, the one on the third row who is so engaged in what's going on the stage? I met with him last week. He's a bright student. He should be going to college, but he's telling me, I'm not going to college. My daddy didn't, and we're doing just fine. And she said, I couldn't tell him, no, you're not doing just fine. You're on free and reduced breakfast and lunch. And my bet is your dinner is coming out of the lake over there, that you're eating fish that your daddy's fishing for every night. Not that anything's wrong with that, but he could be doing more. He had greater potential than that, and may very well be in the next generation, what's available to him would not be available to his own family. So that is the cultural change that we are working on. That's adaptive work, and it's taking that one example and seeing from that the larger picture. So that's a little bit about the Better East Texas effort. It's not just about degree programs. It's about moving to change the culture, which I know each of you as an educator is very much engaged with. And as a future administrator, and those of you who are administrators right now in K through 12, that's what you're doing every day. So what I would encourage you to do is continue to look at the big picture and look at how you can help move your communities in the schools and the communities outside the schools along to a better future, a future that is adapted to the culture that will be out there. And that's going to be a lot of work, always has been, always will be, but especially will be post-COVID. Now, another issue that's going on campus, and by the way, I'm going to acknowledge, I think I see Corey Robinson there. Yep, I do. So he will know very well what I'm talking about, as does Mr. Favors. This is something that is going on campus right now, and I think it is a key example of, as leaders, needing to do the adaptive work versus technical work. This is hard for me to talk about. It's very hard for me to talk about, and that is over the last month, I guess, since school began, we have been having some real difficult issues in dealing with racial relations on campus. We have had incidents of students using racial epithets, telling racist jokes, making people feel uncomfortable and as though they don't belong. That's not the value we stand for as a university. And we need to change that. And I think Mr. Robinson knows, Mr. Favors knows, we would love to just snap our fingers and have it go away. That's not going to happen. There has been a real urge to do just what I think of as the technical work. And to me, the technical work, which is necessary, don't get me wrong, it is absolutely important, is to identify each of the incidents and work with the individuals who were part of those incidents, both to educate what I think of as the perpetrators, and also to help the students, and it's generally been students who have really I guess the right word to say is been victims of that kind of racist behavior, so that they know that they belong. It's extremely important technical work, and there are many people on campus who are engaged in that technical work. But Mr. Robinson knows, Mr. Favors knows, many of my colleagues understand that just taking care of those 4 or 5, and I hope it's not more, 4 or 5 incidents will not cure the bigger issue. It may help cure the bigger issue, but the larger one is to work day after day to change the culture so it never happens again. You just do the incidents, you just take care of the technical work, it's not going to go away. You need to take care of the larger culture. You really need to help people adapt to a changed environment. Now, and I've talked with several people about this, the only good thing I can see right now out of it is that it is a symptom of the fact that we have a more diverse student body than we've ever had. That's good. But people are also in an environment that they have never perhaps experienced before. So we are going to need to work with all of our students to help them understand that our diverse world, the diverse microcosm we have on campus, the larger diverse world, is one that they may need to change their values, the values they've grown up with, in order to thrive, not only to exist in, but to thrive in, and to work with some of our students also to have the tools so that they can deal with not only what they're encountering on campus, but what they will encounter out in the larger world. So those are 2 examples. I would really appreciate any comments you might have, any advice you might have as we work through these two particular instances. They're not the only 2. It is, you're on the line every day in many different ways. And so when I give you these 2 examples, if you had several hours, I could probably talk with you a lot longer about the things that every day you need to be prepared to deal with. Every day you need to get back up on the balcony and look and see what's going on the dance floor. So I think I will stop for now and see if anybody has any questions or comments. Thank you, Dr. Morris.
Yeah, I was just reading that too, Dr. Couture. But I don't think there's any other comments right now in the comment box.
Okay.
For you.
Well, again, I very much appreciate the opportunity to be here, and hope that in the future you all have the greatest success, and would be very much delighted to work with all of you or any of you if I can be of assistance.
Thank you so much. We really appreciate your words of leadership. Leading through challenging times was this first particular topic, and Dr. Couture just really poetically laid it out for us. So thank you so much, Dr. Couture, for that. We are going to take a 1-minute break, Ms. Janelle, or do you want to just keep rolling, or I'm listening to you for your lead?
Feeling pretty good. Let's keep rolling.
Okay. All right. So we are going to move on to the next topic, making the jump into administration. Okay. Making the jump into administration. And to get us started is evangelist missionary Teresa Robinson. I'm reading over her bio. It's just some great information that she has. She's been in higher ed, no, sorry, in education for 17 years, 15 years with Liberty Ilo Independent School District, not including when she served as a substitute teacher, 9 years in the classroom, 2 years as a math team interventionist, 4 years as an assistant principal, including 2 months as the interim principal. And now she's just thankful, proud, and excited to serve as the new Liberty Ilo Early Childhood Center principal. We have a great staff, amazing students, and a community that takes pride in its district. Teresa Robinson is married to her husband, and she has 3 beautiful and intelligent daughters. She's proud of all 3 of her children. This last statement is also important. It's an honor that I will not take for granted. My desire to be the leader that our students can look up to as a role model. I will lead with integrity, compassion, and with a growth mindset. I believe God has given me favor and has called me to this position, and I will not fail him. Without any further ado, here's Miss Teresa, Evangelist Missionary Robinson.
Good morning, everyone. I didn't know I was going to be introduced as the evangelist missionary. I was trying to actually separate church and being on the secular realm. But I would say good morning to everyone. And I'm just so excited to just participate in such a great event. I do want to pause and just give thanks to the committee of the Northeast Texas Alliance of Black School Educators. It's a long word, who selected me to speak and on just such a great topic. And I do feel like I could preach on that topic, making the jump into administration.
See. Uh-huh.
I also want to pause and I want to say thank you to my husband and who has been a support in education for me and to the Liberty Ilo family. I wore my earrings to represent y'all, LA. As previous stated in the introduction, I served as a classroom teacher and an interventionist for 11 years before coming into administration as a AP. And I did work for TISD as a homebound specialist for the general education. And I was the first, and I will say first, assistant principal for the Liberty Ilo Early Childhood Center. When the district separated the kindergartens and brought them over to our campus, there was a need for another administrator. So thank God for kindergarten. I'm just so excited right now. I think you can see that's my personality. I'm just always happy and I keep a smile on my face. But when I served as assistant principal, my major responsibility was discipline. I did rewards. I did behavior interventions. I worked with special education and I did appraisals for teachers. And as much as I loved that job, I decided that I was going to leave education and I was going to start my own business. I went and got pens made, business cards. I created an employee handbook. I created contracts, applications, and I even did me a web page. You can go to the internet now to Available Care 7 LLC, and it's still there. But one February, my boss decided to go out of town for a few days. And usually when she's gone, I stay in my office and we have someone that was trying to get her principal certification. She would go into my principal's office. And I distinctly remember telling my boss, I want to be in your chair this time. I didn't want the intern in her chair. And I would say maybe that Saturday morning, I was praying like always. And I heard God say, stop, don't go. And I waited for my husband to wake up. And I was like, is it crazy that I don't want to leave? Now, given I had already turned in my letter of intent, and like I said, I've already started my business. And I really, truly wanted to be a business owner, but God had something else for me. I could not see my future, but God could see it. Now, if anybody knows anybody that's an entrepreneur, you'll know that you look at the money, you look at how much you can make, you look at your setting your own hours. But like I said, God had a plan for me. And so he equipped my mind to just jump into the new role as a principal. And this was before March. It's no secret. In March, I became the interim principal of the campus I'm at now. And soon that job became open and I applied for it. And I just believe that God did not tell me to stop and stay here just to stay as an AP. I believe that he wanted me to move into this new position. But I want to be transparent. As happy as I am and as much as I smile, this has been a very challenging year. I have been disrespected. I have been pushed by parents. I have been yelled at. I've been cussed out. My name has been slandered simply for doing the job that I was hired to do. Yet, with all these things, I trusted God. I've also had some other bumps in the road. So I will tell you that's aspiring to be an assistant principal or principal. Be sure that you know why you're jumping into that position. I would say I was not fully prepared to deal with the issues of COVID. Even though we've been dealing with COVID since 2019, I've had a different role. So doing a contract tracing and having to ask teachers to come up with like the classroom setup so that we'll know who kids have been exposed to. Notifying parents and they have so many questions. Well, who was my baby exposed to? Was it the teacher? Was it an adult? And y'all know I couldn't share that. Notifying other like our nurse, who's been exposed and who's been in contact. Creating and implementing a tracking system for virtual instruction. Last year, our kids just went on virtual instruction at home. We opened up Google Classroom and they did all the work. This year, the government says in order for us to get assistance, we had to have face-to-face instruction. So I had to find a teacher to do that. And then one of those teachers was unavailable to do the class. In the spare of the moment, I had to go find another teacher. And then when you have 3 teachers out that have been doing the class, you have to go to your backup plan. So I would always say have a backup plan. And then you deal with your absences of your faculty and staff. So this year I've had to move staff members from their normal job duties just so I can have a teacher in the classroom. I've dealt with not having subs, and I did an appeal to HR and say, hey, I need some help. There's no subs taking the job. And I was told it's not that, it's just all over the district. There's a lot of absentees. So that's something I wasn't prepared for. Even though I had prior knowledge and access to the campus improvement plan, I would say I wasn't prepared for the specifics and details inside that plan. I wasn't prepared for the budget and the details. Like when I was getting my master's, they told us how to do the budget. They showed us budget codes. We did projects. But when you look at the state comp's budget, you look at the federal budget, you look at your local budgets, and sometimes you're trying to find out the rationale and connect it to your campus improvement plan, it can be challenging. I was not fully prepared for the complaints that parents had. Like I said, I deal with appraisals and I deal with kids, but parents would complain on the teachers, they complain on the staff, they complain on bus drivers, they complain even on me. And you have to know how to address those parents. And it's not always easy when you know you're not the one that's wrong. I mean, the one that's, the one at fault. and you're told no matter what, follow peace. And those of you that are Bible readers, we know that the word of God tells us to follow peace with all men. But sometimes it's hard to follow peace when someone is in your face or someone is literally calling you a MF or calling you a B. And I would say that my husband has been very understanding, because I come home and I tell him all these things. And even though the Texas Principal Standards are readily available to me, I could not fully comprehend the responsibilities that go along with being an instructional leader or dealing with human capital or being an executive leader or even making sure that the school culture of my school is healthy or even dealing with strategic operations. And even though there's a whole lot more things I can say that I was not prepared for, there was some things that I was prepared for. I was prepared to make the jump into administration. I was prepared to form relationships with teachers, with parents, with staff members, with my students. I was prepared to work closely with my assistant principal and other campus leaders. I was prepared to work with other administrators in the district and other district members. And I would tell you this, networking is so important. So this is why NETABSE is so important. You get to talk to people and meet people and discuss things more than just the people that's in your district. I was prepared to accept all the responsibilities that came with this new jump. And I was prepared to love my job and be a role model for my students, as my bio said. Expiring principles, I want you to keep in mind, too much is given, much is required. In this position, you would get more authority, you would gain more recognition, status, and even compensation. But more will be required of you because it is such a great responsibility. It is absolutely essential for you to keep in mind why you decided to make this jump, why you decided to make this charge, why you decided that you wanted to take this responsibility. And it sure required more than you saying, I want to be the boss. Especially on those rough days, you have to be able to find your why. Your why is what gets you back on track to say, hey, it's been a hard day, but this is why I decided to jump into this role. So I'll leave you with 12 tips that I'm yet learning as I make the jump into administration. Number one, I want you to learn to delegate. You cannot do this by yourself. I'm somebody I'm very independent. And I learned within the first 2 weeks of school, I could not do it by myself. By yourself, I was working 12 to 13 hours a day. So I decided to give someone else a chance to help me out. Understand that you will not be able to fix all the things that you see wrong on your campus. And at the end of the year, there still may be things that you still can't fix. But it's okay. You'll get there. Unless absolutely necessary, don't make any rash decisions. I'm someone that tells my staff, do not put anything in my hand while I'm walking. I never know where it may end up. Use Google Calendar and the task options on the right-hand side of the screen. It will keep you on track. And it'll keep you on time for your meetings, especially when you set the notifications to notify you 10 minutes ahead of time. Treat the students, the parents, your community members, your teachers and staff with kindness and respect. And this is so important to develop the culture of your school. Don't expect the faculty and staff to do anything you're not willing to do. So each day, I participate in car rider duty. Not because I have to, but because I want to. It gives your teachers an opportunity to see that you're a part of the team. Be present. So I'm going to give you a transparent moment that happened to my husband and I. I was in training in Pittsburgh on last Thursday. And then on Friday, I decided to take me a personal day. And my AP was so excited that she did well while I was gone. And so my husband, he was at the gas station and he was putting gas in the car, and I got on the phone with Miss Hoover. When he got back in the car, I was still on the phone with Miss Hoover. And when we got home, I was still on the phone with Miss Hoover. And finally he stopped and he said, Teresa, I need you to be present when you're at home. He said, you was on the phone all this time with Miss Hoover, and not one time did I give a moment to my husband. So as an administrator, I will tell you to separate your family life from your school life. You must put limits. So when you're when you're at home, be present at home. And when you're at school, be present at school. Set limitations. I had teachers contacted me 8, 9 o'clock at night. And so I made a deal with them. And the deal I made with them is after 7 o'clock, you cannot contact me by email, by text, or concerning school. They could talk about anything personal, but we all agreed that we would not contact each other after 7 o'clock. And beside that one day that my husband told me to be present, I have done so. Take care of yourself. Rest your mind, your body, and your spirit, or you're going to pass out. And I literally mean in a literal sense. You don't want to get sick. So take care of yourself. Drink plenty of water and get plenty of sleep. I want you to do something for me. I see some of your faces, but I want you to just look around and I want you to smile. That smile helps me each and every day. There's times that I want to cry. There's times that I want to give up, but my smile reminds me that God has my back. So smile. In all things, give thanks. Thanks when your day is going bad. Give thanks when your day is going good. And above all, I want you to love what you do and have fun while you're doing it. When I sit in meetings and I introduce myself, I said, my name is Teresa Robinson, and I'm the principal of the Early Childhood Center. This lets everyone know that I'm excited about my job. And when you get tired of being excited, you need to move to another profession. My name is Teresa Robinson, and I approve this message. Thank you for your time and attention. It was a pleasure sharing your heart with me. Thank you, Tony.
You are welcome.
Let me just go back. We've recovered already, leading through challenging times, making the jump into administration. And now our third topic that we're going to cover for this segment is campus culture and improvement. And who better to do that than a new member to our Texarkana and Bowie and Cass County community than Miss Sherry Penix, who was welcomed to the Tiger family as Chief Innovation Officer on August 2nd, 2021 of this year. So welcome. We are so happy to have you here and so happy to be a part of this presentation or this symposium today. Ms. Penix has a Bachelor's of Science in Elementary Education and Early Childhood from Southern Arkansas University, and she has a Master's of Science in Guidance and Counseling from Henderson State University. She holds a certificate in administration from the University of Arkansas at Fayetteville and a certificate as an educational specialist in district administration from Arkansas Tech University. Key thing to kind of know about Ms. Penix is her leadership as an elementary school principal brought national acclaim to her elementary school, and they won the National Blue Ribbon School Award that was given by the Department of Education in 2016. And they also got the National Title I Distinguished School in 2015. Her career includes service to students as a counselor and as a teacher. So she's well versed in education. And we are so happy to have her today to talk from the topic, campus culture and improvement. Without any further ado, Ms. Sherry Penix.
Good morning, everyone. How are you?
We're great. Welcome. Good to see you for the first time. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Good. I saw you last time, Mr. Williams, and I just didn't get to say hi. Y'all were, yeah. But,
Okay.
But
Yeah.
okay. Well, I do
Okay,
not
we'll
have
let you go.
any,
Okay.
I do not have any slides or anything like to present, but I do just want to talk, and I'm feeling very honored to follow two great speakers before me. And Ms. Robinson kind of segued me into this topic on culture and improvement about just the discussion that she had on culture. As I was sitting there thinking, I always equate things to a song or to a movie because, you know, hey, when you get home after a long day of work, you watch mindless TV or you listen to music or something like that to wind yourself down in the car going home. So I make those connections. So when Ms. Robinson was describing the glamorous life of being an administrator, for those of you who are old enough to remember, for those of you who are not old enough to remember, Sheila E. I thought Sheila E. in The Glamorous Life. And I said, oh yeah, that's totally what she's describing. But then I said, you know, I'm really more like Jill Scott right now. I am living my life like I'm golden. So it's just, hey, I'm enjoying where I am. But thanks for the opportunity today to present and talk to you all. It's my pleasure to encourage future leaders to be in a profession that I feel just like the Dr. Coulter reminded us of that it's a field that's near and dear to my heart because I do also feel like it's a calling. It's not something that I have to do. It's something that I want to do. And that's a big difference when you have to show up every day. Like Ms. Robinson was saying, when you have those days that are not so good days, but you still show up, and that's important. I also just kind of tell you about my path to be where I am. Like Mr. Williams said, I was brought to Texarkana ISD to be the Chief Innovation Officer, but my path to this position, I have been an elementary teacher, I've been an elementary counselor, I've been an elementary principal, and then as of the past 4 years before I came to this position, I was Assistant Superintendent for Human Resources. Decided that I was going to retire after 35 years in education in Arkansas, but it wasn't time yet. And so now here, 2 days of retirement, and I'm back working as Chief Innovation Officer. So glad to be here. This does bring me a little bit closer home. I have family that live in Fort Worth, the Dallas area. So now instead of taking 5 to 6 hours to drive, 3 hours, actually 2 hours to get to Dallas, and then about 2 hours to get through Dallas. I can see my granddaughters and my other family members. I do have 2 sons. They're both older. One is the father of my 2 granddaughters, with one on the way, and one lives in California. I'm a widow. I was previously married to a man who grew up as high school sweethearts from CrossFit High School. Those of you that are familiar with down south here in lower Arkansas. So this is kind of like coming back home for me. So I appreciate being here and kind of learning what the Texas side of Texarkana does. When I was asked to talk about culture and improvement, people tend to think that there's a magic formula or there's a silver bullet or there's something out there, there's a special program that helps you to create culture, the right things whatever that ground is to make your school be successful. There is not one. I'm not going to tell you that there is. I'd be making up something, but there isn't. The program, whatever program you select, it doesn't work. You work the program. People ask me, and Mr. Williams mentioned about the National Blue Ribbon School and Title I, you know, very honored to have those accomplishments for my schools at that particular time. But I was more honored by the teacher and student work and the parent support, because they are the ones who helped to create that and make that happen. There wasn't anything that I did except for be the leader, be the supporter, and be a team member that help make that come to fruition. There are three things that I think about when I think about culture, and I think about communication, and I think about improvement, and they are those connections that you make. And Ms. Robinson kind of alluded to that when she talked about networking, caring, and then also communication. When you think about connections, those are the people that you put on your team, the stakeholders that are involved. Your teachers are your natural stakeholders, but you try to find people that will work with you, work for you, and be supportive. They have to have you. When it's really hard when you inherit a team, and especially if it's a team of people that don't have the same thoughts, the same direction, the same purpose that you have, they can be molded and moved. But when you find that team of people that work with you, there's nothing that can describe that. Having the support of your parents, your stakeholders, your community members, people that you can reach out and say, hey, I need this. Can you help me with this? We're getting ready to start this. Whatever that might be, those connections are strong. Your students, being there, at an elementary campus, I was with kindergarten through 6th grade. And so the 6th graders, when they start as kindergartners, they cry, they cry, they cry, they cry. Thank you, Ms. Robinson. I feel your pain because I was a counselor at a kindergarten center. I just don't think I could do it now. But when they leave you as 6th graders, they think they already know everything. And I'm just impressed that there's a 6th grade middle school center here that K-5, you still have a little chance to make sure that they still like you. They don't know everything. But the environments and situations that those kiddos come from, if you think about as an educator, how much time we spend with those students on a daily basis and what we are and what we mean to those students, how powerful is that? So again, we mentioned the why, the purpose of why we do the things that we do. It's because of our students. It is all because of our students. Everything and every role that I've been in, it has not been, we know as educators, we're not in this profession to get rich. Our wealth comes from the student success at the end of the road, when they graduate, when they come back to us years from now and they are successful. That's where we achieve our wealth and our richness to say that we were a part of something great. But if you also think about what part of that you had a part in, that is powerful. Yesterday, just in preparation for this, it just happened to be a great story. I was on Facebook and I had connected with one of my former teachers who is now an assistant principal at the school that she was my teacher in. And she had a young man that was a 4th grader for her when she had a fourth, 5th grade split. And he had his mask on, but I knew that little face from here up. And I called her and I said, tell me the story. What happened? And she said, he just happened to stop by. He's 20 years old now. He has had a journey of being in school, not in school, went to the Army for a little bit, back and forth, just trying to figure out his path. And he stopped by and she was on cafeteria duty and she got a call down to the office to say, hey, a visitor is here to see you. And he walked in, this big little boy now that's in the same body, but you remember their faces. If they're 22 or 2, you know their faces. And he walked in and he said, do you remember me? And she said, yeah, I remember you. And he said, you remember I was that bad kid, that bad kid. And she said, no, that's not what I remember. I remember a kid who had some challenges, struggled a little bit, but always came to school, was smiling, always willing to, when I stepped in and say, do it this way, do it that way. And you may have pushed back, but you always kept pushing forward. And he started crying, which made her started crying, which made all the people in the office start crying, because then he followed it up by saying, you know, there are two people in my life that are the most important people that never gave up on me. One was my mom, and number two was you. Which again, she started crying and he started crying and the office was crying. And there were parents that were there that didn't even know this kid from 20 years ago. They were crying and they made a connection. This kid who she had him in 4th grade. I remember him. And he wasn't that ideal student. He wasn't that student that you thought, you know, one day he's going to be something great. But she didn't give up on him. That's why we do the things that we do. That's the power that we have as educators. It's not, or it's to see that kid cross the stage. And you know, from kindergarten, I always tell my teachers that we're not segmented. We have them in kindergarten and then we give them to 1st grade. No, we have them in kindergarten. We share with 1st grade, we share with 2nd, until they are seniors and they cross that stage. Wouldn't it be a wonderful picture to see all of the teachers that had those kids from K through 12? And usually our graduation is just the teachers that are at the high school level, but wouldn't it be awesome to have every teacher that ever worked with a particular child from K through 12? Because we all were a part of that link, a part of that chain for them to cross that stage. The stadium would be full and there'd be tears, because that's what we do for our students. And that's the why. My why now has shifted because of my 2 granddaughters and my granddaughter that's on the way, because, you know, I want that same experience for them. I want that same opportunity for them to have a teacher, to have someone in their lives besides their parents that supports them, that which is the second, is care. I don't care what kind of environment you're in. If people don't know that you care, if people don't know that you are there to support them, we hear so much negativity in our world today. You turn on the news, you turn on the TV, you get on Facebook, you get on whatever social media platform there is. You always hear the things that are going wrong. We as educators need to start promoting the things that are going well. I mean, we have the opportunity every day to cultivate and grow great people. I always tell people that even the doctors, the lawyers, the presidents, all these great people that are making even the NFL players that are making the $1 million contracts, at one point, somebody said, hey, you need to make sure that you finish this. Go back and do your homework. They came through a teacher. Now they tend to forget that when they start making all those big bucks, but they had great educators. They had those coaches that were educators. You know, my dreams at some point when we get the CEOs of companies, they put their cards, and then, you know, they usually put their credentials of being they attended Texas A&M or whatever. Can they not put on there they attended Dunbar Elementary? Hey, they started with us. Can they not put that they started at the Liberty Aloe Early Literacy Center? They started with us. Okay, we were a part of that pathway to get them to the success that they are in. The other thing I always remember is communication. Communication is key in a culture of improvement. Being open. Ms. Robinson mentioned being visible. You can't stay in your office. You can't hide away and hope that the work will get done. The things will happen out there just because you're sitting at your desk and you're being the leader. No, people want to see you doing. If they see you out there and you're mopping the floors, or you saying hello in the morning, you're in those classrooms, you're seeing the work that's going on, you're seeing the work that's not going on, you're able to give immediate feedback that is relevant to the teach, relevant to the learning. And you, when people come back and say to you, well, did you see what happened in Miss So-and-so's room? Yeah, you did. You were there. You can buy the testimony to say, I know what's going on in my school. I know what's going on in my classroom. A funny thing happened when I started as an administrator at the central office in my former school district. As building principals, we do that walkabout every morning. Well, we walk the building, and people think, well, it's walking because they want to say good morning, you want to say hi. Well, that is one purpose of doing that. You're walking, you're greeting everybody, you're making sure everybody's in their nice little places. But the other thing, you're making sure that people can see you. It kind of sets the tone for the day. If the students know you're there, if you have that teacher who is running a little bit late and you just happen to be in her room when she pops in at 8:10 and you're having to take the classroom, you don't have to discipline. Your presence speaks for you that you had to teach for 10 minutes while you were waiting for her to show up in her classroom. So being visible, walking around, it sets the tone for your day. But the thing that is also powerful about that is that you can, if you do that periodically during the day, that's what I found. It was just a part of my routine. So the first day I did that at the central office, they weren't very receptive to that walkabout. I got up, I had my door open because I was accustomed to teachers just coming in, coming out. So I had my door open and I got up and I walked through the building. I was like, good morning, how are you? How are you? Well, payroll doesn't quite like for you to interrupt them in the morning, nor does the superintendent's office. And it wasn't Dr. Brubaker. By the way, it wasn't him. He had just started, so he was out speaking to everybody too. But I was just doing my thing, and I got the looks of, why are you so happy in the morning? Like you said, why is that smile? What is going on? So the next day I thought, well, I'll just stay my little bottom in my room and I won't go out. Well, a couple of days passed and somebody from payroll came and said, well, you didn't stop by today. You didn't say good morning. Didn't know how much adults like it too. So it just became my practice of what I do. And I've kind of, even at coming into my new position here, I'm starting a little bit of it where I go around and visit and say, good morning, good morning. Affirmations. People want to know that you care about what they're doing and how and even if it's just by doing something simple as saying hello. Chocolate works too, but saying hello is powerful. Professionalism comes along with that communication and caring and connections. Jimmy Casa is a guy that met with our a team, and he has a book called Culturize, and he talks about sometimes we as leaders, we think the group that we lead know what we expect. We assume. So we step out and we assume that they know how to talk to parents. We assume that they know that our secretaries know how to get on the phone and have good customer service. We assume these types of things, but we never tell them what our expectations are. State your expectations. And what's wrong with having out of the box high expectations, but attainable. You can't ask for the moon and then that it's not backed by anything that's reasonable. But Another tidbit that I would always tell my teachers, you know, when you get that, you would get their cumulative folders, or now it's not folders anymore, now it's their data of a student that you would say, it's the teacher before them or the teacher before them, that they would already have the presumed knowledge of, this is the bad kid, you're getting them. I'd say don't look at the folder until you have them in the room, until you have those kids in front of you, because kids live up to your expectations of them, just like a teacher lives up to the expectation of you as a leader. You know, somebody else's teacher that you kind of go, oh man, I don't want her in my building. You get them in your building, they are a star, just because of how you treated them, what you expect, and the conversations. So be it an active listener. It's hard in our social media world now, where we are multitasking and doing 20 different things. Like right now, Zoom is wonderful, but I can tell you probably everyone on the screen is probably also working on another project while you're listening. So this has allowed us to do that. But when you have a person in front of you and you're in person talking to them, giving them your full undivided attention, letting them know that at this moment, in this moment, you are the most important thing. What you have to say, what you have to do, what you're experiencing, because we forget sometimes that as educators, we are, even though it's like when that kid see you at Walmart and they think, you go to Walmart? Yeah, we are people too, we're human. So we are living life as our students are living life. And so with that, sometimes in order for, I would always tell my teachers, I'd rather you come and yell at me than go to the classroom and yell at a student, because it has to get out. But in the classroom, it's not where it needs to be. It's because those kids need you. They don't need all of this stuff that you're carrying, the baggage, the drama that you can spill out onto them. The other thing, professionalism. Leader in Me says that you act, you do, you work, you say, you speak like you're always being watched. Well, we are. In education, because of social media, because of cameras, because of that little device that we carry around in our hand every day, we are being watched. And at any moment, it becomes public. So when we want our students to see a role model, to be a role model, we need to actively make it our purpose every day to be that role model. Sometimes, just like this young man that came back and told this administrator that 2 people in his life were key, we are the only role model that our kids are seeing that are positive. When they come to school, when they step in the doors of our school buildings, they come in and they get to get away for a little bit. Whatever is the negativity that's going on in their lives, they get to see something positive. They get to see something great. They get to see, they get to be comfortable. They get to be fed. Their basic needs are being met, plus some at our schools. Now, that's unfortunate that we have to provide all of that, but that's what we do. We do that because we want our kids to have the environment that provides them the opportunity to get good instruction. If they do not have that environment, no matter what program we throw at them, no matter what new opportunity, new game, new whatever, if procedures, practices, and the environment is not safe and conducive to learning, learning will not take place. They are still caught up in the chaos. So when they step through our doors, that's a part of that culture. That's a part of improvement. When they can walk in and they are ready to learn, we help to create that when they walk into our buildings and when they walk into our classrooms. Other than that, instruction doesn't take place. Your teachers get frustrated. You get frustrated because we are trying to teach to a test and we're teaching kids. That's my personal pet peeve right there. We're not teaching to a test, we're teaching kids. And we are teaching more than just, unfortunately, the reading and writing and arithmetic. We're teaching them all, we're teaching them to be lifelong learners, lifelong learners. Our teachers are the same, way. They will, in that part of that in culture and improvement, teachers will work as hard for you as your students will work for as hard for them. If they know that you believe in them, if they know that you support them, and you allow them to teach. We have gotten into, and believe me, I know that there are, I'm not so far removed that I don't know that there are things that are a part of expectations, rules, standards that need to be addressed when we provide just our regular instructional day. But what I always hear teachers come back to, can I have that opportunity just to teach? Well, my thought to that is, if I do everything and I provide that environment, that culture that allows you to do what you're asking me, which is to just to teach, I better be seeing some awesome learning and teaching and instruction going on, which means I want you to be thinking outside of the box. I want you to be thinking, how can I bring everything to the table that when my students leave, the teacher is not tired at the end of the day. The kids are tired at the end of the day because they've had a day packed full of learning. Students should not get in the car at the end of the day and the mom asks, what have you done today? Nothing. What was your favorite part? Recess. They should be able to explain everything. I mean, today, Miss So-and-so did this, and we were talking about this. Excitement should just be, and Miss Robinson, you made a great point that, I'm a firm believer in family, and once you get home, you leave it at home. But when you come to work, you put it all in. You give it your all, because our kids deserve that every day, your best every day. And sometimes you have to dig really deep to find it, but they deserve it. They deserve it. They're the why. They're the why that we show up. And lastly, I just want to say that because we are role models, because of the work that we do, just remember that social media is your friend, but social media is your enemy. Use it to the benefit of being your friend. If you feel like all of your stuff is out there is private, because I put stuff on private settings, then you are your only friend, because no one else is out there. Your stuff will be shared and posted and reshared 20,000 times. And I'm just making up a number. So if you don't want your story shared, don't put it out there. And I hope no one is offended by this, but don't talk about your school. Don't talk about your classmates. Don't talk about your coworkers. Don't talk about your administration. Don't talk about your school district in a negative way on social media. You don't have to. The people will anyway. Talk about the things that are going well, or don't say anything at all, because we need to support and build up our profession. We are professionals. We need to make sure that our public know that we are. I appreciate all of the work that you all, I appreciate the things that you want to do as future leaders. I will put my contact information in the chat box for you to contact me with anything. And thank you so much for letting me have this opportunity today.
Thank you so much. Oh, wow. That's beautiful. So many things. It just keeps coming to mind what Oprah Winfrey talks about. Great communication begins with connection. And so how we connect and how we communicate and how we collaborate is just so important. And we just appreciate you unpacking that for us today. So thank you so much, Ms. Penix, and we look forward to you being a part of NETABSE and other organizations that we have in our community. All right, I'm going to keep it rolling on because I understand people's time is valuable. So we have about another 30 minutes or so left. And this next presenter really needs no introduction, but I'm just going to do it because this is a formal, environment here. Dr. Cherry Ross Gooden is a dedicated, committed teacher with more than 40 years of teaching experience at both the elementary and university levels. She's retired from Texas Southern University in 2013, and she served there for 36 years. She taught in the Houston Independent School District for 12 years. A graduate of Texas Southern University, earning her elementary education BS degree. Then she got her master's in elementary education with a reading concentration from Texas Southern as well. And then her doctorate of education in educational leadership came from the University of Houston. Dr. Gooden is a member of many organizations, including Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, Jack and Jill of America Incorporated, Top Ladies of Distinction. She's a member of the Texas Association of Black Personnel in Education, and also a Golden Life member of the Texas Alliance of Black School Educators. Dr. Cherry Ross Gooden is also the Higher Education Commission Chair for TASB, or the Texas Alliance of Black School Educators, a wonderful presenter, a wonderful person to have in your Rolodex for information related, not just to education, but also about life and all of the better for it. So please welcome, without any further ado, Dr. Gooden.
Thank you. Thank you. Let me start with a story. I need to tell you this story about three fishes. There once lived in a very beautiful pond, three fish. The name of the first fish was Plan Ahead. The name of the second fish was Think Fast. And the name of the third fish was Wait and See. Now, one day the three fish were swimming in the pond and they happened to hear the voices of two men, and the men were talking about fishing in that very pond. They even talked about casting a net. Now, upon hearing this, Plan Ahead said, "Hey, out of here. I'm swimming down the river tonight," and he did. Think Fast said confidently, "I'm sure I'll think of a plan at the right moment." Wait and See lazily said, "I don't have time to be bothered with this problem right now. I'll think about it maybe sometime tomorrow." So the next day, the two fishermen came just as they said they would, cast their net just as they said they would. Well, Plan Ahead, the first fish was long gone, so he wasn't in the pond. But the other two fish were caught in the net. Think Fast, thought fast, rolled over so his belly would be up and pretended he was dead. So one of the men looked and said, "Well, that fish is no good." Took him out the net, threw him back in the pond. Oh, but the third fish, Wait and See, ended up, yes, in the fish market. So I guess the moral of this story is, in times of uncertainty or danger or havoc, when the net is cast, you need to be able to plan ahead or plan to think fast. Or I like the way Dr. Jag Sarai said it. The future belongs to those who are able to manage uncertainty, plan ahead, and innovate rapidly, plan to think fast. Good morning, good morning, good morning. It is still morning, not afternoon, right? All right. Thank you for allowing me to share a few minutes with you this morning. And on this topic, I have been assigned how leaders reset for growth beyond coronavirus. Now, like Ms. Pennick and Principal Robinson, I don't have a PowerPoint for my presentation either. This is somewhat, though, of a shift for me. I'm not sure about my colleagues, but normally when I do a Zoom presentation, I typically have a few slides because it's kind of a tactic for maintaining to some extent the attention of the participants or the audience. However, I do not have a PowerPoint, but rather I hope to make some powerful points to engage you for the next 15 to 17 minutes during this closing session. But I need your assistance. Like a Baptist preacher, I need to know that you're feeling me. I need to know that you're responding to the points I'm making. So feel free, as you are doing and have done on the previous speakers, feel free to keep dropping in the chat. You can give me a thumbs up, a smiley face, a frowning face. Questions, comments, just continue interacting as you have done so beautifully on the previous presenters. I'm glad I got in early to hear them. They are fabulous. So that's what I need you to keep that going, keep that going. So let's dive in right now. Let's dive in. Here we go. Resetting for growth beyond coronavirus means realizing that we as educators need to face new and potentially harsh and challenging post-coronavirus realities. Things might just get real tough. So as you prepare to reset for growth beyond coronavirus, plan ahead and plan to think fast. Now, on a positive note, I believe that some of the changes that are going to be brought about because of this crisis are also going to free us to experiment with new ways of accomplishing some of these old tasks. For example, transitions in education and in teaching models, some of the models that Sherry was talking about, some of those models, it would normally take 3 to 5 years for change to take place. And here, because of coronavirus, teachers have had to pivot and change in 3 to 5 months. I remember the use of smart boards when some of you have been teaching long enough to know when smart boards came out. And one of my students, Sarah Marks, is on this call. She was one of my students in my methods classes. And she will remember when we were trying to get our TSU students to understand how to use technology. And we had a technologist, Dr. Holem Song, who was teaching the students how to use the smart board. Oh, they were very proficient. But yet, colleagues, when I went to the classrooms where some of them were doing student teaching, the smart board was used as a bulletin board. Stuff had been pasted on it. I was like, why are you all not using the smart board? So they don't use the smart board for teaching, Dr. Gooden. But look now, not only are teachers using smart boards now, they use smart boards with technology. They use smart boards in virtual teaching. Teachers who said, I don't know how to turn the computer on, are now teachers who have pivoted and were functioning in a virtual environment. So hopefully, pivoting and change are now new friends for us instead of feared old enemies. So for this closing session, I'm going to do as I was told. I'm going to talk about planning ahead and thinking fast as leaders reset for growth beyond coronavirus. But now, before I get into it deeply, I want to unpack. Let me unpack the theme just a little bit so that you can contextualize what I'm going to say based on what I'm going to share in the next few minutes. And one of the first things I need to share with you is my definition of leadership. My definition of leader. When I talk to you today about leaders and leadership, I'm not talking about titles or positions. I wholeheartedly support the concept of classroom teachers as leaders. In my view, leaders are not necessarily the people who have the titles and the big checks and the offices. That's nice, but that's not how I characterize leaders. My view is much broader than that. And so for me, leaders are people who can influence, persuade, and impact others to change attitudes and actions without having to resort to force or authority. If you have to force me, I don't know if that's leadership or not. But if you can persuade me because of the power of your personality and I trust you and I feel that you are telling me things that are in my best interest and not for your comfort, then it's likely that those are leaders. So that's what I mean when I talk to you today. I'm talking about people who are impactful change agents. Yeah. So if you agree with me on this broader construct of leadership, can you just give me a visual thumbs up? If you can go along, you're okay with me defining leadership not by a title or a position, but by a function and a passion and a direction for people's lives, so that all of us potentially have to be good leaders. Okay. All right. Now, here we go. The second term that was important, I think, in that theme, reset. And the reset just means to set, adjust, fix something in a new or different direction, a different way of doing something. It may not be necessarily new, but it would be new to me if I've never done it. And so if I hit my reset button, for me, what may be new, for you may not be new. So reset is where I'm doing something different from what I'm doing now or what I did before. They say reset is a personal empowerment button. I like that term. Reset is my personal empowerment button that's accessible to me anytime I want to make a change. Hitting the reset button is one way to avoid hitting a permanent wall, because you hit that wall and you don't reset, that can be really difficult. So it's easier, rather than running into the wall, why don't I just go on and hit the reset button up front? For example, after 48 years of teaching somebody something in some classroom or learning space, I retired from the Texas Southern University in 2013. And as the years passed following my retirement, I started feeling some kind of way. By September and August, the sights, the sounds, the thoughts, everybody was talking about returning to school and going back for this fall semester. And I was sitting there and all of a sudden I started experiencing something I termed purposelessness, a state of feeling like I was not in my purpose. I wasn't in a classroom. I wasn't teaching anybody anything. So about 3 years ago, I had to reset my perception of what I needed to give me back my sense of purpose. I had to reset my perception of my purpose and then redefine it outside of the physical classroom setting. I had to reinforce, because I already knew this, but I needed to reinforce my understanding that teaching and learning is not tied exclusively to a physical space. And so I started involving myself in organizations and committees where I was working with youth. I increased my mentoring arena. I was dealing with young professionals, and I'm like, you need a mentor? Hey, here's my number. Call me if you need me. And so I got a chance to, in that space, still get the sense of pouring into the lives of others, or at least being there to support, without actually having to report for a class in the fall at 8 o'clock in the morning. Yeah, it worked out in my favor. Okay, so reset means you never get too old to reset. You reset when there's a need to change your direction so you won't hit the brick wall. So now I want to engage you in what is going to be called a productive silence experience. I was looking I like to go to YouTube every now and then and see what people are saying about presentations and, good ideas for engaging your audience. And this person talked about something he called productive silence. He said, sometimes during a presentation, you need to just stop talking and let it be quiet so the participants can think and process what you are saying. Like, that makes sense. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to give you 15 seconds, and I have my timer. I'm going to give you 15 seconds of silence, and I want you to consider the answer to this question. At the end of the 15 seconds, I'll let you know, and I want you to be prepared to share your answer via the chat to this question. Here's the question, listen carefully. What did you have to reset before 2020? I told you I did 3 years ago. My experience I shared with you, I did 3 years ago when I hit reset. So I don't want to know what you did during the pandemic. I want to know, did you have to reset anything prior to the pandemic? All right, 15 seconds. I've started my timer. Go. Time. Okay, time up. That's 15 seconds. Just quick. I want you to think. All right. So here's what I want you to do. In the chat, just type just enough to let me know what you may have had to reset prior to 2020. I would have put in the chat, reset perception of purpose. That's what I would have put in. So in the chat now, let me see what you did. What have you reset before? Time management. I had to reset that time thing. Same retirement story. Interesting. Yeah, I was like, what am I doing? I don't smell. Wait a minute. All right. Reset. Anybody? Come on. Drop in the chat. What did you reset prior to 2020? Reset my attitude. Transition from campus to district. Call for a resetting of my idea of the skills and the activities I would be in. Reset my expectations of others. Okay. So what you are telling me is, looking at these interesting things you have done, you know how to reset good. So the power of reset is that at any given moment in your life, a pandemic notwithstanding, you truly can reset yourself, career, or relationship. So I've talked about 2 words in the thing. I dealt with what I considered a leader, not a title up, but a person who plays a particular role in the life of somebody else. And then we have just reviewed what we mean by reset and agreed that you can reset at any age. Anytime you feel yourself about to hit the brick wall, you need to reset. So now let me do the last word that's important in that thing, and then I'll give you how I rewrote it after I've unpacked it. Growth is the next word I chose. And this doesn't refer to physical growth, obviously, although I don't know about you, but these pandemic pounds I gained, I have physically grown. Not that that's something I wanted, but that's not the growth we're talking about. We're talking about, I believe, mindset for our growth as leaders. We're talking about the work of Carol Dweck, growth mindset. That's the growth I'm referring to when I share with you in a few minutes some ideas for how to do that. But for those who may not be familiar with Carol, let me share briefly some of the basic tenets of her work. She says that as you look at us as humans, that we consider our personalities, our character, who we are, and our value as an individual falls in 2 different dimensions. One she calls a fixed mindset. And so there are people who are in that category and how they view themselves, etc. And then a growth mindset, which is another category. Let me talk a little bit, just a second, about the fixed mindset. Fixed mindset, according to the research and work of Carol, assumes that our character, our intelligence, our creativity, that is static, that we are born with what we're born with. We can't really change or make anything better. It is what it is. So my success as a fixed mindset person is very much tied into the degree to which I think I am smart. So anything that threatens my smartness threatens me, because remember, it's fixed. And if I'm not smart, that means I never will be. There's not anything I can do to make myself smarter. So these people are very careful to strive for success because they need the success for validation, but they avoid failure. because failure then blows their concept of themselves. And so one of the ways they maintain this sense of being smart is that I don't ever fail, because if I don't try, did I fail? No, I wasn't even in the game. So for these people, every situation calls for a kind of a confirmation of my intelligence, a confirmation of my character. Every situation is evaluated. Will I succeed or will I fail? If it looks like I'll fail, then I'm not going to try. So I didn't fail. Will I look smart if I say this, or will I look dumb if I ask that question? If I think I'm going to look dumb, I'm not asking that question. I'm not asking that question. Will I be accepted or rejected if I join this group or be involved in this activity and there's a group, target group I'm trying to be a part of? So my question is, will I be accepted? If I think I'm going to be rejected, not having anything to do with that. It's in other words, my sense of who I am is very much tied into the need for approval, the need for approval. And these people feel threatened by the success of others, because if you're successful, that means you're a winner. And what else does that mean for me? I must be the loser. That's win or lose mentality. So here's what I want you to do. Fixed mindsets avoid challenges. They give up easily. They ignore any useful negative feedback because it means you don't accept me. I feel rejected. They feel threatened by your success because your success means they're losing. So I want you to think a few minutes, and I want you to 15 seconds. I'll give you a pause to think. I want you to think, does this sound like a student or a colleague that you know? Does this sound like a student or colleague that you know? Anybody you know? Do you know some fixed mindset people? Time? Okay, in the chat, put a Y for yes. I know some folks like that. Ooh, I can just see him. I can just see her. Or N for no. Now, I don't know nobody like that. I don't know anybody like that. All right. Or yes, somebody said both. I know both. All right. Okay. So one of the things as leaders, part of what your responsibility is to provide what supports you need for your fixed mindset people, because they may have talents that they have never used unless they are free from that horrendous captivity that is of their own making, because they are the ones who are convinced I can't be any better than this. So if anything happens to me, or if I'm not successful, I'm doomed to not ever be successful. That's something interesting. Okay. Thank you for your participation. And interestingly enough, let's look then at growth mindset. A growth mindset, according to Dweck, this is not my research, I'm just reporting it and I support it. I've seen it happen with children. And that's why I want you to really be thinking of, you have some children who won't try anything for fear that if they'll fail, and they would rather not try than to fail. Because if they don't try, they can always say, I didn't even try. So I didn't fail because I didn't even try. That's why I didn't do my homework. Okay, a growth mindset, on the other hand, thrives on challenge. We see failure not as an evidence of not being smart, but as a springboard for growth and stretching our existing abilities. Dweck found that a growth mindset creates a passion for learning rather than a hunger for approval. Catch that? Growth mindset creates a passion for learning rather than a hunger for approval, which is what the fixed mindset is looking for. Or a growth mindset that these people are not discouraged by failure. They don't actually even see themselves. This is an opportunity. But that was a lesson for me. If something goes wrong, like, oh, you don't know, but I got something that I'll never. It's an opportunity for learning. They embrace challenge. They like challenge. They persevere in the face of setbacks. They don't give up because they know they can do it. Oh, I got this. I just need to give it a little more attention. I need to give a little more effort because they believe in the possibility and the connection between effort and success. They love others. They like others to be successful because I learned from your success. You inspire me when you are successful. And yes, criticize me, critique me because I learned from criticism. Oh, we growth mindset. I like that. These are people who have a passion for learning rather than a hunger for approval. So, next task. Does this sound like you? I'm going to give you just 10 seconds this time. Does this sound like you? Does this sound like a student or colleague that you know? I actually didn't have my stopwatch on, so I'm gonna say time. All right, so in the chat, if this sounds like you or somebody you know, put a Y for yes. If you're like, I don't know anybody like this. I wish I did, but I don't know. Then you put a no. Let's see who you around. Oh, okay, good. I see a lot of yeses. Okay, I know somebody. Now notice I didn't make you brag on yourself. I just said either one. I didn't say if it's you, yeah. I just left it open. So yeah, I wasn't. Yeah, I didn't give you the opportunity. Yeah, baby. Yeah, I'm fine. Yeah, I didn't do that. Okay. In the interest of Tony, who's doing my time for me?
I got about a couple more minutes left.
Couple, I just started. How many minutes did y'all give me?
Who gave you?
There ain't been no 30 minutes. There ain't been no. I'm still on my introduction.
Oh no, Doctor.
No, not quite, but close. Okay, so let me get out of that then. Okay, we good. So the new description is, I just have one more thing. How do we, as individuals who have the ability to influence or persuade or impact others, fix in a new or different way our passion for learning rather than hunger for approval following coronavirus? How do we, as individuals who have the ability to influence, persuade, and impact others, fix in a new or different way this passion we have for learning rather than a hunger for approval following coronavirus? That's a big thing. That's a big question. As Principal Robinson was talking about the importance of your why, maybe that's a why question you need to ask. Am I doing this because I have a passion for learning or am I doing this because I'm looking for approval from others? Don't you think, Teresa, that's a good why question, particularly for people who are going in administration, because there is some concern that good teachers are leaving teaching, and we're not sure sometimes why they're going, and they may be going, Teresa, for the wrong why. And so that really is a good question. I got off on that, and now I'm back in Teresa's business. Okay, so let me move on and finish up. Let me finish up. So all I was going to say then, here are the two things I think you need to do to be able to move into this post-coronavirus as a leader. And first thing is plan ahead. Plan ahead. This is not something you approach casually. It takes real thought, planning, cognition. I like when Teresa said, one of the things you need to be careful with your own health, that you need to set limits. That's all about self-care. The first thing, you cannot plan if you are not healthy. You cannot have creative ideas and mentally you foggy because you're not exercising, you're not eating right. You can't do that. I often say you can't fill from an empty cup. So your cup has to consistently be built up, and self-care is what allows you to do that. I like that Teresa brought in the spirituality. In other words, give thanks. And I knew I could say that here when I like, yeah, she opened the door. So yeah, that whole notion of spirituality, you need that. So the first thing on your plan is your plan for self-care. If it's 10 minutes, 15 minutes a day, whatever it is, set it and guard it jealously. You need to be at your best. Second, your planning ahead should be from an informed base of information, not in a vacuum and not based on false narratives. You need to plan based on critical and thorough analysis of what you read, what you're hearing, what you are viewing on social media, and what you are seeing in your everyday circumstances. You can't accept everything at face value. You are educators. You have to critically analyze what you are hearing and seeing, because if you plan from a false narrative, the plan is already messed up. So additionally then, as we move forward, for example, pandemic has taught us 3 lessons, and I'm talking to you now as it possibly administrators who are in that space where you would be setting up the initial plans. We know after the pandemic, people are going to want more convenience, they going to want more accessibility, and they want entertainment. I've been to more conferences and committee meetings. I haven't missed any committee meetings. I've been to all the conferences. Because what do I have to do? Come sit in front of this computer. Convenience, accessibility. Oh, I've been to teas and DJ parties and never left my desk table. So people are going to want more of that. So as you plan moving forward, you have to take into consideration those are realities that are not going away after coronavirus. Does that make sense? Okay. Last thing, and I'm going to end right here. I need for you to be sure you understand false or true narrative. Let me read you something, and then you put in the chat, if this is a true narrative, put T. If this is a false narrative, put L. Here's my statement. The COVID-19 pandemic created challenges for every learner, but according to some estimates, students of color could be 6 to 12 months behind compared with white students who are 4 to 8 months behind. A lack of technology, higher rates of coronavirus infection, job loss, food insecurity are just some of the struggles impacting communities of color and their education. Does that sound like a true narrative or a false narrative? Put T for true if you think it sounds like it's true. Put F if you think it's false. You're dropping it in the chat. Yes, true. It's true. This is data that was put out by the National Education Association as recently as the beginning. This, unfortunately, the numbers may have changed a little bit, but the concept is that children of color are way behind. And the concept is that there are higher rates in these communities. All of that Sherry was talking about is she talked about some of the situations the children come from. All of that is true and is combined. So when you plan, you have to plan with those realities in mind. And then lastly, please plan from a growth mindset rather than a fixed one. Don't have to say no more about that. And plan to think fast. I like that, I'm so glad I came in before Robinson and Penix finished so I could borrow their stuff. Okay, I like when Principal Robinson talked about let me see what I wrote it down. Oh, she said, don't make rash decisions. And I immediately thought about thinking. So thinking fast does not mean rash, right, Teresa? You can think fast without making rash decisions because you got the data. You thinking fast, but you're not thinking without thought. And so that is absolutely true. Some of these situations, you're going to get the oops. This hit me out of nowhere. You can't sit there stumbling and bumbling. You need to be ready to at least come to some reasonable frame, and then I'll check it and get back with you later. But they're looking to you, if you administrators, for answers. So think fast. And one of the things, I have a book I'm going to send to you, jump in the chat on the end, that is entitled, in fact, I'm reading it, I'm studying. They say if I do this in 2 weeks, it's going to work with my memory. That means I'll be able to find keys faster. And it's called Mind Hacking Secrets, 21 Neuroscience Ways to Develop Fast, Clear, and Critical Thinking. I'm going to drop that title in the chat for you in a minute because I'm getting ready to close out. One of the things I like, it talks about brain integration, that we don't use our whole brain. You all know that. We use just a portion. This writer said we need to pull all this together and use as much of our brain as we possibly can. So, for example, take a different route to work or to church or anywhere where you go regularly. Don't go the same way. Go a different way, because what you're doing, if you go in the same way every day, then your brain is in relaxed. But if you go a different way, the brain got to what? It's got to. So don't go the same way. You know, sometimes you go that same way and I didn't even remember passing that. You're right, you don't, because you done been that way so many times, you don't know what's that. So don't do that. Choose a way altogether and make that brain work to read those signs and get that. Organize with your eyes closed. I tried this one. For practice, take something small, such as a small drawer, a jewelry case, dump it all out, and then close your eyes and see if you can organize those pieces without looking at them. So what you're doing, you're making your brain visualize with what you're feeling. I did that with my battery drawer I have. I did them, I passed them. And everything was going fine. So these are like AAA. Okay, cool. And then I felt a nail. I was like, a nail? Then I felt 7 nails. Like, what are nails doing? I had no minds. What are the nails doing in this drawer? So not only did I clean my drawer, but I got a chance to visualize. If you do things, that's to make your brain work, to integrate. Brush your teeth with the opposite hand. You used to being right-handed. So now let's stimulate this side of the brain. Brush your teeth, clean, wash it, do as much as you can with your opposite hand, and you're forcing your brain to balance and use one. You got stuff over here. If you're right-handed, you got some stuff over here you're not even using. You need to get this part used. You need to get this part used. Last thing, I like this one. This is fun stuff. I'm just doing this fun. But these are interesting. Plan out what your mess would look like after you clean it. Identify a mess, your closet, your office, your garage, something like that. And then looking at the mess, visualize what it would look like when it's all in order. Wow. That's causing, again, sometimes we don't start tasks because we are so overwhelmed. If we could just see beyond this, we would be able to be motivated. I looked at my closet 3 or 4 times. I'm still visualizing, but at some point, I think I'm gonna get on it and actually work on it. So I thank you. I appreciate being with you this afternoon. I thank 2 speakers who preceded me. It was absolutely wonderful that I could jump into and connect to you, which means, on the same page on some of these things. I appreciate my NETABSE brothers and sisters for inviting me to do this. And my closing quote, Felix Rengel said, in the midst of a crisis, it is hard to imagine a future that looks different than the present. But I say to you as leaders, that is exactly what you must be prepared to do. You must plan your work and then work your plan. Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Gooden. Thank you. I feel like I've gone to a buffet and I've gotten so much on my plate. I can't finish it all and they won't give me a box, but I'm going to just take it and put it.
You're going to take it with you whatever way you can,
right,
whatever way you can.
Exactly.
All right.
Wow.
Thank you, Lee. Thank you, Amy.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Let me give a shout out to Sarah Marks. Sarah was actually one of my undergraduate students at the Texas Southern University.
Wow. What did you teach at Texas Southern?
I was in the college of education. I taught teachers.
Teachers,
Okay. Yeah, I taught many teachers.
Wow. Well, I know Tony has more to talk to you about and say some more closing remarks. So I'm going to bring him in right now. Tony, are you
I'm here.
the
I'm
TAS
going to
president?
thank you so much, Mr. Williams. I'm going to move quickly because I know time is valuable. I just want to say again, this is our third annual Aspiring Administrative Symposium. And I tell you what, the layout for that the team has put together for the presenters and everyone, I'm just saying, wow, wow, wow. And normally, of course, in church, we say we're going to take us to the mountaintop. We're at the mountaintop when we started and we never come off. And so I would first like to thank our presenters. And I always typically, as I'm listening to presenters share their message, always take a few notes and take one point away that I can use from the presentation. And then I will start with Dr. Cottrell when she spoke this morning. Basically, the point I got from her is even though she had a topic that was provided by us to speak on, but leadership, her topic for a takeaway for me is leadership is about cultural change. And that's pretty much legit. Of course, her topic was leading through the challenging times, but leadership is one of her things that is about cultural change. Secondly, Ms. Robinson, you kept us on the mountaintop because we were already there. And then there was several things. So there's several points you brought into this, and knowing you personally and Miss Administrator now with your bad self. But one of the things I said, know why you're jumping. And then I added the other portion of it is into a position. And then of course I put a quotes, be prepared. And so all the analogies and things that you provided was definitely helpful. Ms. Penix, I started with one thing and I put another, so I'm gonna use both. Know your stakeholders. So as you're in the teaching and as your administrator, or you wanting to go into the administration, you know who the stakeholders are. And as Dr. Goodman was saying in her message, then you get connected, get to the other side, get to know. And Ms. Penix, you stated it so well, but I added another line that says, understanding the why. And isn't it interesting? Each one of the speakers had a topic given, but they didn't know the details of what was going to be shared. Ms. Robinson, did you know that you were talking about the why? You didn't know Ms. Penix was going to have it. And of course, Dr. Gooden, you didn't know that was going to be. So I tell you what, when God is in the midst, you know it's going to come out always on top and good. And lastly, I'm saying we're still on the mountaintop. And Dr. Gooden, you know you're a personal friend, and through TASB, I've learned so much under your leadership. And you started in the beginning, plan ahead, think fast, and wait and see. But then I had to add that other line. And the other line I think is more important in addition to that is hit your reset button. So everyone today, those who were a part of this, we say on behalf of NETABSE, thank you for taking this time out. I think one of our slides is going to come up with the TASB leadership team, NETABSE's leadership team. I do want to thank the executive board, Mr. Williams. You've done a wonderful job serving as the MC, and you're just wonderful all about and coming with the quotes. And normally I'm a person that likes to close with a quote, but we've had enough quotes that's going to help us carry us forward. And Dr. Gooden brought those on in. But I want to thank this team and those who serve as members. Thank you. Sometimes, Dr. Gooden, I'm looking at you and you know about preparing for certain presentations and events. Sometimes you think, oh gosh, are we going to be able to pull this off? Are we going to be able to pull everybody together? Everyone? And I tell you what, I'm laughing. I'm looking on the screen here for Miss Ingram. Janelle Ingram is one of our leaders or the coordinators for the administrative symposium. She always say, I don't know how it's going to turn out. And I always say in the message, it's going to be awesome. Why? Because we think forward. We're forward leaders. And those of you who are serving or wanting to be administrators, that's one of the things you need to do is be a forward thinker. And that growth mindset that was mentioned in the presentation, it will help you through. I'm trying to stay on point to keep the times. There's membership. I can't stop. If you're not a member of NETABSE and we're connected to the state and we're connected to the national, well, then you need to be a member. And so this is your opportunity. We're welcoming you. Membership for us goes through the end of October. Or at least that's when we have to turn in the documentation to TASB. But because membership for us is always open to everyone. And so this slide just gives you, and I won't go through the details, but you can see the membership benefits of being a part of the TASB, but also you see the membership benefits of being a part of the state. And then ultimately there's the national organization too. And so one of the goals we pushed for us last year, we went from 25 members of the state to 83 members of the state last year. The year before was 25, last year was 83, and we don't want that number to decrease. So when you think about the local membership, we want to encourage you. I know some districts are paying for membership. If they're not going to be able to pay for that, you invest in you. And one of the things that's been a great investment in us, those who serve on the board, we know is being a part of the TASB as well as the TASB. So these are some great points. Real quickly, we want to do, Mr. Williams, we'll pull it forward with a little poll, do a little survey poll here for everyone just to get feedback. And so if you'll take a minute, Mr. Williams, I'll turn it over to you to say a few things on this, and then we'll come back with the closing.
Okay, it should be launched right now, Tony. So.
Yes. Yeah. All right, everyone, if you participate in the polling for us really quick, give 10 seconds. I like that, Dr. Gooden. The timer is going. Oh,
Tony, let me just say, in case people aren't looking, I did put the title of the book in the chat.
Good, thank you so much, everyone. Make sure you look in the chat for the title of the book. Mr. Williams, we'll make sure too, we send it out to all the members regarding that. Of course, we're recording the presentation too. All right, can we share the results? Oh, there's the results of the polling.
So we can't really share them because only 3 people did it, because I guess somebody ended it early. So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, what we'll do is we'll send a thing out to the members just to get an update and a survey on the behalf. We always want to make sure that we're hearing the voices of the people, and the topics that we bring forth are the topics that's of concern to all of us. I don't want to close without allowing, and she always says, I don't want to speak, but when you have the person who's a coordinator of an event such as this, you always want to give them the opportunity. And I want to say again to all the speakers, thank you. I was going through, this week has been probably one of the toughest weeks because there's a lot of things going on, and we talk about the personal and the job and knowing how the separation. You know, I deal with individuals with rape this week. I deal with individuals with wreck this week. I deal with students with diversity issues this week, and I deal with, you know, I have my family. Thank God, the family is great. Everything's going, but God got me through this point, and this presentation just helped me and carry me forward. So I hope it was beneficial for you all as well. But Ms. Ingram, I'm gonna turn it over to you to give an update or anything you want to share before we close out.
Tony, thank you. I just want to say that nothing good happens without teamwork. And we've been kind of texting each other back and forth this week, talking about teamwork. And so I do want to mention the committee members for the Aspiring Administrator Symposium, without which this great work could not have been done. So I want to thank Angela Featherson from LEISD, Ms. Karen Brown, my partner in crime for TISD, Julie McClurg from Pleasant Grove ISD, Kendrick Smith, LEISD, of course, Lee Williams and Chad Moore from Texarkana College, Ms. Elodia Witterstatter from TISD, Mr. Julius Anderson from TISD, and last but not least, Dr. Robin Hickerson from TASD. I also want to make mention of the TISD Pathway to Teaching students who are paraprofessionals or other support people in our district who are working on becoming teachers. They are present and accounted for. I also want to thank Dr. Tricia Ray. She and I were principals together, and she is now the director or over in charge of those students who are pursuing their principal certification at A&M. She had several of her students on also. So I wanted to thank them as well. But thank you guys for a job well done.
Awesome. Thank you, Ms. Ingram, for those updates. The last slide that we have, we are excited being a part of the TASB. We're excited to congratulate some of our TASB members. Well, 3 of the members of who are members of NETABSE are also going to be honored for the NAACP awards. And so Mr. Lee Williams, the third, he's receiving the AE Austin Educational Award. And so we're so proud of you. This is a great, awesome opportunity for you and a great recognition for you. Miss Jean Matlock, who serves, she's the Trailblazer, receiving their Trailblazer Award for the NAACP awardees. And so congratulations to her as well. And also Dr. Emily Contreras. All of these members, she's receiving the Benjamin Dennis President's Award of the NAACP. We appreciate the work that you're doing, and we're honoring these individuals. NAACP will host their event on October the 23rd. Just watch social media, we'll be posting those. But also when you see these individuals, give a shout out to them and let them know. Share that love and compassion. Ms. Penix talked about in her presentation about passion. Share that. And of course, Ms. Elodie, I saw you posted, put in the chat a thing about passion. And so that's what it's about. If you want to move from teaching to going into administration, you have to have the passion. If you don't have the passion, you need to go back and hit the what? The reset button. So that's all I have at this point in time. I want to turn it back over to Mr. Williams for closing, or Dr. Morris for closing us out. But I want to say to everyone, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Mr. Williams.
I don't have anything. Is Dr. Morris, are you still, I don't think he
Yes.
has it. No, he is. Dr. Morris, do you want to go ahead and just close us in prayer?
Thank you. Yes, I
Everybody's
will.
so full.
Thank you.
I think it's appropriate.
Thank
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Mr. President-elect. Let us pray. Eternal God, our Father, we thank you for all of these presenters. We thank you for this wonderful committee led by Mrs. Ingram. We thank you, Lord, for all the wisdom has been imparted. You say for lack of wisdom, people may perish, but we know that we are imparting wisdom through NETABSE. We thank you for NETABSE and TASB. And we thank you, Lord, for all those who did not feel that it was a robbery of their time this morning to come and share with us and also to listen. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And we pray that everyone will have a safe and blessed weekend. In Jesus' name, amen.
Have a great weekend, everybody. Bang.